All right, thank you very much for coming, everyone. We are going to get started. Particularly, thank you very much for coming out on such a beautiful looking day. I hope it's just as nice outside as it is here for me. My name is Jeremy Martel. I'm Director of Communications with the Cape Breton Partnership, and I'm going to give just a short technical brief on the program we're using today and how you can participate as we go. And then from there, we'll hand it off to the rest of our speakers. So you'll notice that we're using the Zoom platform for webinars today. What that'll allow you to do is to ask questions during the session. You'll see a Q&A button at the bottom of the screen or at the top of the screen. If you have any questions, please feel free to include them. We love having a little discussion toward the end of our session. We will be holding questions until the end, so feel free to enter when you have a question, and if it's answered later, that's fine, and if not, we'll try to get to it at the end of the session as well. You can also use the chat function if you have any comments or if you're experiencing any difficulties. Members of our team will be keeping an eye on that, and if there's anything that we can help with, we'll certainly try as we go. Additionally, because it's a Zoom webinar, keep in mind we can't see you. We can't, so if you need to get up, if you need to get a drink, if you need to get some food, if you want to take your phone outside and watch the session while you're enjoying the outdoors, please do so. We can't see or hear anything that's going on your side. You can only see or hear us as we present. So keep that in mind and feel free to stretch or to make movements as you need. To get started, I'm going to introduce Tyler Mathis, our President and CEO at the Cape Breton Partnership, and ask that he come up to give us a welcome.
Good afternoon, and thanks, Jeremy. My name is Tyler Mathis, and I'm the President and CEO of the Cape Breton Partnership. Thank you for joining us today. I'm excited to be here with our partners at the Nova Scotia Community College, our friends in industry, and those who are interested in learning more about this growing and ever-evolving industry. Ocean farming is an important part of our culture, of the province, and of our history. It's an industry that's provided livelihoods, food security, economic stability, and has and continues to produce some of the highest quality products in the world. The future is untapped, or is full of untapped potential in this industry and in our region. But in order to continue producing these high quality products through ocean farming, we must do it sustainably and think about new and innovative ways to develop aquaculture, all the while protecting our ocean. Our panelists today each bring diverse perspectives, backgrounds, and extensive knowledge and expertise in this area. And we're honored to have our panelists join us today for the fourth webinar in this 5-part series. Before I introduce our moderator, I'd like to thank our partners at the Nova Scotia Community College. Amanda Momberket has gone above and beyond to help us put this together today. And the whole series together, this 5-part series has been NSCC pushing and ensuring we had the expertise we required. So thank you, Amanda, and your team. I'd also like to thank our partners and friends in the First Nation communities of Membertou, Eskazoni, Wagogama, Bodledek, Wagmatcook, and the town of Port Hawkesbury, and the counties of Victoria, Inverness, and Richmond, as well as the CBRM. It's because of their support through the regional enterprise networks that we're able to bring these relevant and timely topics to the local business community and help foster these conversations and economic growth. And now I'd like to introduce our moderator, Dan Lane. Dan is currently the Interim Director of the Lobster Quality Research, Centre de Recherche Marine at Université Sainte-Anne, and Professor Emeritus with the Telfer School of Management at the University of Ottawa. Over the course of his career, Dan has been the recipient of numerous research grants and concentrates his research interests on decision-making processes, simulation modeling, and control of dynamic systems, especially in the area of natural resource management and in the management of Canada's coastal zone, including coastal climate change. He's also his research is on fisheries, aquaculture, and oceans policy analysis. Through his work and the current role at the Marine Research Center at the Université Sainte-Anne, Petit de Grat campus, he researches live lobster quality for improved valuation in the international marketplace. We're pleased to have you moderate our session. Welcome, Dan.
Tyler, thank you. Really appreciate that. I want to thank your Cape Breton Partnership, certainly, for all the work you've done in putting things together and helping us through this. Amanda, Carly, Jeremy, and yourself, really appreciate the help you've given to us to make this happen. So that's been really helpful to us to get things going here. I'm really looking forward to this discussion on quality and capacity today as part of the series. These are, as you mentioned, very important topics and ones that I think are really important to be addressed by our presenters here today. We have three presenters. I'll tell you who they are in order. First of all, very happy to have Ashley Sprague with us from Perennia. Ashley will be followed by my colleague here at the Marine Research Center in the Petit de Grat campus at the Université Sainte-Anne, Michelle Theriault, who's director of the lab here. And finally, Giulia Pereira from NSCC will be telling us about the sea farm operations program there and the work that they're doing around this. The idea of quality and capacity is critical. We know that Nova Scotia, the marine resources benefit from the idea that high quality product is what we produce, both locally, regionally, and in international markets. So to do that is something that we need to put front and center in the way we operate here. The capacity, or as the dictionary puts it, the idea of being able and capable, potentially, to have the ability to perform or the ability to produce quality is something that I know all of our speakers will be talking about today as a group who are enabling in the institutions they work in to get us to that point where we can make better decisions around quality for the industry and to move things forward as we go along. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Ashley. And just before I do, to reiterate what Jeremy has already said, there are questions and answers that we'll be dealing with at the end of all the presentations. So please add your questions at the bottom of the screen in the Zoom modules that you see there. And please, if you don't mind, if you could note to whom the question is addressed, then that will help us at the end when we set those questions back to you. So I want to introduce our first speaker, who's Manager of Seafood Services at Perennia, Ashley Sprague. Great to have Ashley with us. Ashley leads a number of projects aimed to support and grow Nova Scotia's diverse seafood industry. Ashley is a coastal biologist with over 15 years of experience in research, policy, and planning. Before she came to Perennia, Ashley worked as a coastal coordinator with the NSDFA, the Nova Scotia Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture, and on various climate change adaptation and fisheries development projects internationally. These are important topics that will bring us forward, and we look forward to Ashley's talk. Ashley, over to you.
Ashley, just checking in to see if everything's all right on your end. Just let us know if you're able.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, and is my screen being shared?
It is, though we see your internet. Oh, there we go. We see your PowerPoint now.
Okay, all good now?
All good.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. And thanks, Dan, for the introduction. So my name is Ashley Sprague, and I am the manager of seafood services at Perennia. And I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about a Made in Nova Scotia quality program to promote seafood. And I'll also start just quickly by telling you a bit about who Perennia is. And we are, it's an interesting organization. So we are a registered corporation that's owned by the province of Nova Scotia. And we're really here to promote the food sector in Nova Scotia. We support economic development with agriculture, seafood, and the food and beverage sector. The Minister of Agriculture is actually our sole shareholder, and we have a board with industry members. So we offer programs on behalf of government, we undertake industry-driven projects, and we also offer consulting services. And I'll dive into these just a little bit. So Perennia was established in 2001, and at that time we were very, very focused on agriculture, working directly with farmers to help them become more economically profitable, and really to help the agriculture and the wine industry diversify. And we've since grown in the last 20 years, and we have a fantastic team of quality and food safety specialists. We have our agriculture services, our seafood services. We have a product development lab. We have an innovation center in Bible Hill, just outside of Truro. And that's where we're actually able to do product development and research. So we can take an idea and get it to the prototype stage. We can help with a lot of different analysis, research, packaging, labeling, scale up. So we have a great team of food scientists that work with us in our Bible Hill facility. And I guess the newest member of our family is Bloom Labs. And that's actually a cannabis research and analytical facility. So a lot of product from Nova Scotia comes through our lab to get tested. And then we're actually working on a range of products from consumables to beverages. So we have really, a good scope of all the food and beverage sectors in the province, and we support them in many different ways. So our seafood services, we focus in a few areas. So the first one is product development. So if a company or a individual has an idea, say they want to produce a clam chowder, we're really able to help with the scoping and the scale up of that. The first thing we like to do is a market research analysis. We want to make sure that you have a good path to success, either in retail or in food service. And we want to make sure that you're putting your money into a product that's going to be viable and successful. So we can help with recipe development, shelf life testing or extension, packaging, labeling, nutritional analysis. So we have quite a range of services that we offer in our innovation center to help develop high quality products. With food safety, our team of specialists, we're really able to help look at your food safety program and identify if there are any gaps. If you're looking to put in a new product line, we can help to make sure that you're going to be in compliance with CFIA. If you're looking to access new markets, and that's something I'm going to talk a bit about today, that a lot of the buyers are more and more requiring that companies are able to demonstrate that they're meeting specifics on food safety. So we can really look at your program, we can assess any gaps, we can help provide the steps to make sure that you're meeting the demands that your customers have. And the way that we really like to work with clients is, we don't want you just to give us your program and say, can you update this? We work really, really closely with all individuals in the company, from the senior management right on down, and we provide staff training to make sure that everyone really understands the food safety program, because it is something that is continually being improved and updated, and we want to make sure that safety is on top of everyone's mind within the organization. We also work on process improvements. So really from the catch right through to the sales, we are able to look at the different steps and the processes for holding and handling your product to make sure that that quality is really maintained along the value chain. And then the other service that we do is we do a lot of industry-led and government-led projects. So we work on a range of things, from trying to grow the sport fishing industry in Nova Scotia to looking at the issue of gray seals and seeing what can be done to fully utilize those and maybe get some economic opportunities. So we have a whole range of other projects that we work on. But what I really want to talk about now is this Nova Scotia Seafood Quality Program. And maybe you've seen the logo here at the bottom of my screen. And this is a provincial brand that's really used to promote and differentiate high quality Nova Scotia seafood programs on both the domestic, but mostly the international markets. And the objective is to help market access and growth of premium quality seafood products. It's a Nova Scotia Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture program, but it's administered by Perennia and the Université Sainte-Anne as well. Sainte-Anne looks after everything to do with live lobster, and then all the other species, including aquaculture species such as salmon and mussels and oysters. The criteria and the program were developed and managed by Perennia. So this program, I really like to think of it as a tool to help companies access and maintain markets. So we know that certain countries and certain big buyers, the Costco's, the Whole Foods of the world, they're really demanding a lot of their suppliers. And we're here to help companies demonstrate that they're able to meet all of the criteria around high quality, safe, sustainable, traceable products. And it is a certification program where the companies have to demonstrate that they're able to meet the criteria we've developed through both on-site audits and product audits. And if companies are successful in that, they're able to have a bunch of benefits that come with this program, such as using this logo. They're able to use that exclusively in social media, on packaging, for any marketing. And we're doing a lot of work right now behind the scenes so that buyers understand what this logo means and that they start seeking it out and looking for this. Also, besides the use of the logo, the companies that are certified as ambassadors get a lot of marketing support. And so, we've heard from companies that they have generations of experience in producing high quality salmon or scallops, but really they could use some marketing support. So we'd like to understand, what is your target for growth? What markets are you trying to get access into? And how can we support your efforts so that we can help promote your products in those markets? The other thing we've added recently to this program is some extension support. So companies that are certified have access to Perennia's team of professional development or product development and food safety expertise. So we can help you either overcome obstacles with your product. We can help you access other international markets and get other certifications. So if you need a gap assessment or some assistance before an inspection or an audit, our team is there and available to help you. And that's all included in part of this program. So when we were tasked with developing criteria that would encompass high quality seafood, we really wanted to understand what is quality and what does that mean on the modern market today? And quality really is a measure of how well a product meets the consumer's expectations. And so when you first think of quality, you think of those attributes. What does it look like? How does it smell? What does it taste like? But for a consumer, it's really much more than that. So food safety is very top of mind. People want to make sure that this is a product that's been handled well, that's been stored well, no one's going to get sick. They have trust in eating this and sharing this with their family and friends. But the other aspects that consumers increasingly care about are the sustainability and the traceability of that product. So consumers really want to know, where did this product come from? We hear about mislabeling a lot in the news. We want to know, what is this? Where was it caught? Is this what I'm purchasing? And the sustainability is so important as well. So we want to know that the fish that they're eating come from healthy fish stocks, that it's well managed, that it's caught in methods that aren't destructive, and that it's not having a negative environmental impact. So we try to include all of this into the criteria that we developed as part of the Nova Scotia Seafood Quality Program. So our criteria looks at some general guidelines. We have criteria around responsible seafood harvesting, around quality and food safety, and then specific product attributes. So if you're looking to get certified for a live oyster, there are specific attributes there, or if it's a fillet of salmon, then we can also have, very specific attributes of what we're looking for in terms of quality. So to get certified, first of all, we have a document review. So we do want to look at your food safety program. We want to look at how you're holding and handling your product. And then we go on site and do an audit with you, where we look at the records and we observe the food safety culture and all of those handling and holding practices. And the final thing we do is actually look at the product. So we bring that to our lab at Perennia, and we want to make sure that what you're advertising is what the consumer is going to get. So if you have a 20 pack of oysters, we want to make sure that there's 20 in there, that they're the size that they say, that the label is accurately reflecting what is in there. And then we also do a sensory test where we really look at the smell, the taste, the texture, all of that. So the general guidelines are quite simple. We want to make sure that the product is exported from Nova Scotia, and that the company is in good standing with the Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture, and also Fisheries and Oceans Canada. So that just means you're properly licensed, you have no outstanding fines or issues, that sort of thing. When it comes to responsible seafood harvesting, the product should be obviously from a DFO licensed fishery. And all of the product we sell in Nova Scotia really is well managed. Canadian fisheries are really well respected in the global market. And so as long as it's a licensed legal fishery, we're certainly able to look at this. And that also goes for aquaculture products. For the wild caught products, in terms of fish stock health, we do look at DFO's precautionary approach and their rating system. So we want the status of the stock to be healthy, or if it's cautious, we want to see that there's a rebuilding plan or a fisheries improvement project in place. So we want to be able to really back up the claim that these are sustainable products that are under our brand. When we do a site audit, we're really looking at the quality and food safety, the holding, handling practices. So we have before we get on site, we look at your food safety program, we see if there's any issues or any gaps, and then we make sure that what you have written down is what's actually happening on the floor. So we look at your records, we see how you receive the product, how you process it, how you prepare it for storage, transportation, shipping, and make sure that's all aligned so that you're really maintaining that quality throughout the value chain. Now, additionally, on top of what CFIA is looking for compliance, we have some additional programs that we feel are really, really important to demonstrate to the world for market access. So above and beyond what CFIA is asking, we also ask that there are these additional programs in your food safety plan. So food defense, food fraud, that just kind of means that no one can tamper with your product. A commitment to continuous improvement, and that's really important. So we want people to be always looking at their processes, looking at their food safety plan, and trying to, it's not something that's written and done. There's always room to continuously improve, to add training, to add in other elements, to make sure that you're maintaining that quality. We have a risk assessment that we require and a rating of approved suppliers. So we want you to talk to the people that are bringing the fish to you and understand what you're expecting when the supply is delivered to you. Also, we have some requirements around the incoming and also the finished products, environmental monitoring plan. And then we find it's really important for people to complete a traceability exercise. So that means that, you know, if in case of a recall, which is something we really don't want to see happen, but if it does, companies need to very quickly get that product back, understand where it came from and where it went. So we have a recall exercise that we require companies to do, and they have 4 hours to do that. They have to kind of go one step forward, where did all of this product go? And one step back, where did it come from? They have to be able to track that. And again, our team of specialists are there to help make sure that all these programs are implemented, they make sense, and they work for the company. The other program requirements, and this is what we do with our product audit, and it's really important, and that is those physical attributes. So it's looking at the product and looking at the appearance, the flavor, the texture, the odor, and is this product in compliance or not? We have some tolerances for any defects, but we want to make sure that what you're selling, the consumer is going to be really, really happy with what they're receiving in the end. And we have this for 18 different species. So if companies are interested, there is an application process. I have my information at the end, and we'd love to hear from you and see how we could get you involved in this Nova Scotia seafood program. You can also look at our website. The application is pretty straightforward. We look at your documents, do that site assessment, that product assessment, and then once you're certified, there is an annual renewal, but each year you do get that extension support. So we can help with whatever obstacles you're facing. If there's corrective actions you need assistance with, our team is available to help you meet those, to make sure you're maintaining, again, that quality that consumers are really looking for. One other thing I wanted to talk about, and so I'm moving away a little bit from the Nova Scotia Seafood Quality Program, but I hope you understand a little more about what that logo represents and what that program is. We do have currently a pot of funding at Perennia that's available. We're kind of getting near the end of this funding program, but I wanted to let you know that we do have a program that provides 50% of funding up to $15,000. So you could apply for a $30,000 project and have half of that funded. It's available until February or the money runs out. We're getting close there. But we can help in two areas. So that market access, maintaining or accessing new markets. So if you're looking to get into Europe and that requires a GFSI, a Global Food Safety Initiative certification, we can make sure that your company is prepared for that. We'll do a gap assessment, we'll do pre-audit assessments, we will help with updating your food safety program so that you're really on a path to success, and you can obtain those certifications that are required to get entrance into these markets. We also can do, staff training, all sorts of things under this market access food safety lens of the program. And then the other one is for product development. So if you have a new product idea that you'd like to explore with us, there's funding available for that. We'll do that market validation step again to make sure that there's a good path, a feasible way for you to get and be successful in the retail or food service markets. We can help with development, some testing, scale-up support. Or if you have a current product and something's happening with that, your clam chowder is clumping and you don't understand why, we're able to look at the process, and it's probably something to do with the way that it's being heated or cooled, and we can help with that process improvement and overcome those technical obstacles to make sure, again, that quality and the products that you're selling are you know, really the premium quality products that we expect from Nova Scotia producers. So that's it for me. I look forward to any questions, and please follow up after if you want to learn more about Perennia or the programs and supports that we have. Thanks so much.
Great job, Ashley. That was terrific. Really appreciate that. Perennia's programs allow us to play in the big leagues, and the big leagues are the international markets where the value is. So we appreciate all you do there. Don't forget, if you have any questions for Ashley, please post them to the question and answer site on the Zoom below on the bottom of the screen, and we'll hit those questions at the end of all of our presentations. So thanks again, Ashley. Nice job. I'm going to move on to our second speaker. That is my colleague here at the Marine Research Center at the University of Université Sainte-Anne, Michelle Theriault. Michelle Theriault has been in the business of lobster and marine resources for a long time. Michelle is director of the Université Sainte-Anne's Marine Research Center and the satellite campus, director of the satellite campus here at the Petit de Grat campus. Has been in 25 years in experience in this. That must mean she's been at this since she was a little girl. And it sure shows in the way that her work has developed over time. She has a BSc in Marine Biology from Dalhousie University as foundation and an industry-sponsored Masters of Science in Veterinary Medicine from University of PEI. Michelle spent the first 10 years of her career as a lobster biologist and biology manager at a live lobster storage facility in Nova Scotia. As part of that team, she was responsible for quality, an important topic today, and for inventory management for several million pounds of lobsters every year. Michelle was instrumental in establishing the Marine Research Center where we are today, a self-funded center known for specialization with lobster and other marine resources. The center conducts applied research and training to support economic growth and development, part of our capacity enhancement that Michelle will be talking about today. And she works with the fishing and aquaculture industries in Nova Scotia, including the development and delivery of Nova Scotia lobster handling courses for the NSDFA. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Michelle to talk about quality and capacity at the University of Sainte-Anne.
Okay, great. I think my video is on. Thanks, Dan. You made me laugh out loud with my mic off, thankfully, on the little girl comments. But we were, you know, and for those of you who don't know, Dan and I are actually in the same building right now, so we work out of the same center. But anyway, so thanks again to the partnership and to the NSCC for the opportunity to talk today. So. But also for, you know, for hosting this and for, you know, giving us all a chance to keep this conversation going about ocean farming. And I feel the same as, you know, presenters today and the other ones in the earlier sessions, that there is a lot of potential here in Cape Breton for the sector. So I'm happy to talk about some of the things that we do here at our center in Petit de Grat. I'm going to share my screen and bring up my PowerPoint. And open it up. I think everybody should be able to see that now, hopefully.
We do see it, Michelle.
Okay, great, thanks. As Dan mentioned, we're located in Petit de Grat, and there's a campus here of Université Sainte-Anne, and at this campus we have a small research center called the Centre de Recherche Marine, or the Marine Research Center. And I'm just gonna, this slide here, just a very brief background on Sainte-Anne. Most of you might, you know, maybe by now familiar with the university, but if you're not, we are Nova Scotia's only French language speaking or language university. The other thing that's unique about the university is that we have, you know, 5 campuses throughout the province, and most of these are located in rural communities across the province, so Petit de Grat, Cheticamp, Pointe-à-l'Église, and Tusket. And, you know, these are all communities that have had a long-standing connection and dependence on the fishing and ocean industries. And because of that, you know, Sainte-Anne, because of that connection and with these campuses in these communities, these rural communities, Sainte-Anne has always had a really strong, you know, has always been responsive to the needs of the sector, of the fishing and ocean sector. And really, that's really one of the main reason, I guess, why we have now have this research center here in Petit de Grat is because, you know, one, it was based on a need that came from the industry itself, and the other was the commitment and the support that we had from Sainte-Anne towards, you know, economic development in rural Nova Scotia. So just a little bit of background on that. This is a picture of our campus, and so on the right, the blue building, that's the satellite campus. So that's where the classrooms and the offices are. We have video conferencing systems set up there, and we connect to the professors at our main campus that way. On the left is our research center, so you can see it there, and you know, really. The research center was you know, established around 2010, and it really came out of a need, as I mentioned, from the industry. You know, we saw that, you know, once I started on a specific project, but once I started working here, I realized, you know, very quickly that, you know, there were other projects and other companies that, you know, that needed help. And so, you know, there was no shortage of ideas or problems or challenges in the industry, but there was, you know, a lack of either personnel or facilities or even just time to for these companies to follow through on these issues or these new ideas. And so essentially, you know, they were, you know, a lack of capacity, I guess, and that's what we've tried to provide on a small scale, you know, of course, a much smaller scale than what Ashley just described with Perennia. But anyway, nonetheless, that's what we do. So yeah, so this is, let me see here. So this slide here shows about what you know, the three main points I'd like to make today. So I'm trying to keep this presentation, you know, brief and just talk about, you know, our capacity, I guess, for the ocean farming sector. And, you know, Dan mentioned our work with live lobster, and that's probably what most people are familiar with us through that work on lobster quality and storage and that kind of thing. But so you might not be aware that we have been involved in, you know, on the ocean farming side for over 10 years in some capacity, one capacity or another. And so I'm happy to talk about some of those things today. The first point I'll talk about is, you know, just on the technical side, what we have here in terms of facilities and staff. The second point I want to talk about is related to sea scallops. And we've actually been operating out of this campus for over 10 years, a seed supply for sea scallops. And so we are presently the only supplier of wild seed or spat for sea scallops in Nova Scotia. And yeah, I'm gonna save my time on the other points so I can talk mostly about that, I guess. And then finally, we have a new project that we're just getting started on here at the campus that is to, you know, develop to kind of more transform our space into an incubator or hub type facility. And I'll talk a bit about that at the end. So as far in terms of like technical capacity or technical services that we offer, we have, you know, like I said, we're a small center. We have small staff. So we have 3 marine biologists right now. I include myself in that. That's my training is as a marine biologist. And we have 1 aquaculture technician. And so in terms of like, you know, our biologists, you know, we would, I guess, have more of a specialization in shellfish physiology, research, live holding, live transport for, you know, several species, you know, scallops, mussels. We have done a little bit with oysters, and then of course all the commercial species. Our aquaculture technician has, you know, again, you see him here, always there's this picture, Ron, you might have heard mention of him in the past, some of the past, certainly in Dana's presentation, the first one. He's been in the industry a long time. He's got over 25 years experience with, you know, culture methods, field work. He's a commercial diver at the same time, and just a good source of general information about the industry because he remembers everything. So, so he's definitely a good resource for us day to day, but also for anybody, even looking to get into the industry. If you have a question, you can call him, and he can tell you the history of that species in the Atlantic Canada up until this time. Also, unofficially, our tour guide, apparently, based on Dana's presentation, he mentioned coming to Cape Breton and having a great visit. And that's all because of Ron and his love of the industry and meeting people and just kind of sharing with them. So we also have access to we're a small staff here, so we have 4 people on staff, but we also have access to, other personnel from the other campuses. And so there's a wide variety of different types of backgrounds and training in that. Dan is a good example. He's at this campus, but working on different projects. But so he would be our resident, expert in data analysis and modeling. And so that's really great for us because as biologists, we weren't really, nobody was really volunteering for that specialization. So it's really been a big benefit for us to have him here. In terms of facilities, you can see in the background of this picture, that's kind of what our facility looks like at the moment. It's about 3,000 square feet, so it's not huge. We have a small dry lab. We have some wet lab spaces. Mostly we do, live storage of shellfish. So the tanks you see in the background are all live storage tanks that, set for different types of temperatures. But we do have, it's mostly an open space, but through that, we have some renovations and upgrades planned, and I'll talk about that a bit later. So continuing with technical services or technical capacity and what the types of work that we may be able to provide, what types of support we can provide for the industry. I'm going to bring up that Seaweed, Cape Breton Seaweed project again, because it is a good example of how, we can potentially help support the industry. And some of the other speakers have talked about this project up to now. So you've already heard that, that this, the project, has shown success in terms of showing that sugar kelp can be grown successfully in Cape Breton and, has the potential for diversifying sites and also is, just a great high quality, sustainable product. And one of the steps along the way in this process is, you have to start with, your seed. And so to date, the preparation of the seed for these sites to put out on these sites has been done partially outside of the province of Nova Scotia. And, that adds complications in terms of risks and with transport out and then transport back in of this live product. And so ultimately the goal is to have the whole process happen in Nova Scotia. And that's one of the things that we're hoping that our center is going to be able to provide or help with. Another picture on that topic, just a little, showing the steps in the hatchery process for seaweed. And you can see, so part of the three steps in the center were what was being done outside the province. And so we've been in discussions with the Aquaculture Association, with the industry partners, and with the experts in this area, which would be Marinov. It's a research center in Quebec. So we're looking at the specifics involved in this process, and with Marinov's help, hoping to do that technology transfer to set up a small-scale hatchery here at our facility in Petit de Grat by the end of the summer, I hope. This is another picture, just another kind of just on the same topic of the hatchery process, showing some photos of it. And, I included this here, and I know Dana Morris in his presentation talked about this process a bit, but I included it because I find, it's an interesting process, and, it's actually a fascinating process. And I'm not an expert in this by any means. This is my first experience with a marine plant project. And I did find it's a very interesting project in the whole life cycle of the kelp. And it's because it's a plant, it's a species that we have here, it's around us all the time, we're all familiar with it, but without having an understanding of how the life cycle actually works. And it really is, it's a great project in terms of ocean farming, but it's also a great opportunity for engagement, and with the public and with students and even with the industry, because it's just really a whole fascinating process. So we hope that's kind of, we hope at the same time that, we have this hatchery process set up here, that we can also use it as an opportunity for engagement with the public and with students, like I said, and with the industry. And, I know that engagements come up in some of the other talks too as being important. And that's also always been a side focus for us here, trying, how can we, get people into the center? How can we get people involved and share what we're doing with them? And, we did spend before COVID hit, we had spent, 10 years doing, marine biology camps for kids, having an aquarium here, doing tours of our center. And so it really is a big part of what we do, that outreach connection. And so, long story short, this seaweed, this kelp process, hopefully we'll be able to use it for that, to help continue this outreach in the ocean farming sector. Moving on, so the second point, I wanted to talk about today was, our capacity in terms of services for the industry, and one of them is the supply of wild sea scallop. And so we have been doing this for the past 10 years, and I feel it's kind of run a little bit under the radar, because mostly because we haven't really told anybody about it other than the people that are involved in growing sea scallops. But we have been, like I said, we are the only supplier of wild sea scallop spat in Nova Scotia, and possibly in Atlantic Canada, though I'm not sure. There may be some on the Gulf side. And it was something that we took over at the university after it was an existing kind of business that was running, and then that company was letting it go and stopping it. And we had been working with that company, so we knew firsthand that the seed was, a consistent supply, and two, was a very beautiful and high quality product. And we really just didn't want to let it go. So we took over the operation, and we've been running it here ever since. And our aquaculture technician, that's one of his main jobs, is to maintain this operation. And so our goal was, again, so to keep it going so that we can help ensure a stable and consistent and high quality seed for the industry, to help support the growers that were involved in the industry existingly, but also to help encourage more people to get into it. And we've heard, it was Michael Moore that mentioned in one of the previous sessions about the importance of seed supply, and it really is a critical factor in your business. So we're just, really, so we're here, we're trying to maintain that and offer that to the industry. I have a few slides on that actual process of collecting the seed and what that looks like. And we have a collection site in Chedabucto Bay. It's in deep water, deep cool water. It's been traditionally known as with having good yields and high quality, and so that's where we concentrate our collection. And depending on the amount of demand, that kind of controls the amount of gear that we set, because the gear does spend a year in the water. So we would take orders like essentially a year before for next season's product. The gear that we use is we use these collector bags. They're the red mesh bag, and inside that is more mesh, this netron material that's bunched up. We have 7 or 8 pieces of that, so the bag is full of it. And we set them on lines, and we set those lines in deep water, and we leave them. And the scallop, when they're when they're in the larval phase in the area, they get in the bag and they settle on the netron, and then they stay there, and then we haul them out. We leave the bags in the deep water for part of the year, and then we bring them in and move them in shallow water where we get better growth rates for a period of time. When we open the bags, ideally when we pull them out in When it's time to harvest, ideally, this is what we see. So you can see through the mesh bag to see the scallops, juvenile scallops growing on the inside. The process of harvesting the bags and getting the seed is a bit labor intensive. Every bag has to be opened up. Every piece of netron has to be opened up and shaken to collect everything that's inside. One of the good things that we do have, luckily we have an automated sorting machine that you see on the right, and that is pretty efficient at doing the job. So we put all the material that comes out goes through this machine. It can separate out the other species that we're not interested in, and then sort the scallops by size. So we can sort them like under 12 millimeters, 12 to 17 millimeters, and over 17 millimeters are the sizes that we produce. And this machine is also the only one of its kind in Nova Scotia. So the seed is sorted by size, then we store it temporarily in our tanks, in our chilled tanks. What you see on the right is how we prepare them for shipping. So we put the seed in these pearl nets, and we ship them like you would ship live lobster. So we use the same methods. We put them in a styrofoam box with wet pads and ice packs. And we've had very good results and success that way with the live transport for shipping times as much as 24 hours sometimes, but the average would be about 6 to 12. Yeah, so we've done it this way for hundreds of thousands of millions, even millions of seeds. And the growers, when they receive them, they unpack them. Generally, they re-tank them in water and leave them there for a period of time to kind of like rest and acclimate before they would put them out to their site. And they were in constant communication with them, and they have reported, very few of them report mortality. So generally, the mortality is good, despite the sometimes long distances of transport. This is an example of the type of growth that we can see with our seed, or we have with the product. And on the left, you see that the small the seed, the spat at 15 millimeters, and then on the right you can see is adult scallop, 10 centimeters in size, and that's after about 3 years of deployment in the water, using cage type hanging cage methods, either pearl nets and lanterns or both. And so it's a great, I mean, I really feel like this is, this sea scallops are not just offer a great potential for Cape Breton, and not just because, we want to sell you some seed, but just in general, if you see this aquaculture produced scallop, you would agree with me. For those of you who've seen it, it's a beautiful product. It's delicious. It has a large meat to shell ratio, so you don't have to grow, we're not talking about growing a large scallop or competing with the wild caught industry. It's a beautiful whole animal, and it really has great potential for Cape Breton, also because it prefers cooler water. So you can grow this, you can grow scallops in deeper, cooler water, which would in some cases allow you to avoid problems with invasive species like tunicates that prefer maybe the warmer or shallower waters. So it is a good option in those cases. Another thing, and one of the challenges with this aquaculture that I've seen with the sea scallop and the industry is the market readiness or the market development, and that there is, that market component is lacking. And so, like I said, you are not going to be competing with the shucked product. It's really, but it has a lot of potential for a live product or a whole animal. And Dana Morse also talked about this. He touched on this, that in the US, how in the US they're just building these markets at the moment. So I feel like, we see the same thing here. It is a challenge on the sales and marketing side, but it is a beautiful product. It does survive well for at least short spells of live transport, up to 24 hours. We've done some work in our lab here that's shown up to 24 hours. You can get good results with live transport. And I do really feel that with more work, we could really extend that and get some longer distance survival for air transport, which would open up more markets, you know, either in the US or around the world. So I do really feel it's got great potential for us here in Cape Breton. The last thing to talk about is this new project that I mentioned. We've recently received some funding from Invest Nova Scotia to develop an innovation hub. And essentially it's to modernize our facility, to be able to increase our capacity for research, but also to make our facility more available to the industry. And the picture on the left shows what our building did look like on the inside, and it's aging. As far as access to water supply and utilities, we had some serious challenges. So we're very excited about this project to allow us to make some of those improvements to the structure, but also to those utilities like water access. We have a new seawater supply line that we just got put in, water treatment. So in terms of like being able to supply refrigerated or filtered water of certain condition to the building, and even just basic like air temperature control. We didn't have that before, and so this project is allowing us to update that. But also, instead of having one large space, we're planning to make some divide up the space a bit. You can see this picture shows a general idea of what we're hoping to do. So have spaces for different uses, and have a way of dividing it up so that we have improve our biosecurity, so we can have separate projects running at the same time, get some new lab equipment, and allow, like I said, allow industry to come in and use these facilities, either with or without our help. So to provide those accessible spaces for industry. So like I said, that it would help increase our capacity to do projects and to take on more projects and do different types of projects, but also increase the capacity of the industry itself to do those same things. And that's the end of it. This is my contact information. I look forward to the questions if there's any at the end of this discussion, but you realize that on a webinar it is harder to have that discussion. But so I would just like to invite anybody who's interested to learning more about what we do in our facilities to just give us a call, reach out, and come for a visit. And we'd be happy to show you around.
Well said, Michelle. Thank you for that. I tell you what, as a member of the Marine Research Center that you welcomed me to over the last few years, and you said the words already, but I think it's exciting, the kind of capacity building that you're talking about here and the work that is being carried out in this relatively small area in this part of Cape Breton. The potential is there, and that's what capacity building is all about. So as you wisely put it, there's contact information there. You know where to find us. We're not hiding, and good on you. And let's see we can manage all the work that's going to come our way as a result of all this discussion. Thanks again for that. Okay, as Michelle also said, don't forget, if you have questions, please add them to the question list, and we'll take them up at the end after our next presentation. And please again note that if you have a question for a particular presenter over the course of these discussions, make sure you identify that so we can direct it appropriately. Okay, let's go on to our last discussion in this topic on quality and capacity. And I'm very excited to introduce Giulia Pereira from the NSCC. Originally, Giulia was from Brazil, and she holds a bachelor's degree in aquaculture engineering from the Federal University of Santa Catarina, Brazil, and a business administration diploma from the NSCC. That's a great combination to work together on, especially on a sea farm operation. Over the course of her aquaculture journey, Giulia has had several experiences working with shellfish hatchery operations, shellfish farming, microalgae production, and land-based salmon farming. She is now on the faculty for the Sea Farm Operations program at the NSCC and contributes to the rural and coastal communities in Nova Scotia by educating people and helping students to gain the skills needed to work and thrive in the sea farming industry. I look forward to your talk, Giulia. Please go ahead and welcome.
Are you able to hear me?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much then for the kind introduction. I'm just gonna see if I can share my screen. Okay, hopefully, can you just let me know if you're able to see the screen in my presentation?
Certainly do, Julia. We see your screen perfectly.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, yeah, thanks again for, good afternoon, everyone, first of all. And thanks again for the Cape Breton Partnership and NICC for bringing us all together here today. Thank you then for the introduction and all the attendees for joining us today and wanting to learn more about ocean farming. I'm Giulia Pereira, as you all know, and I'm gonna be talking a bit about the NICC Sea Farm Operations Program. By the way, thanks for one of my students, Carl Boudreau, who I know is joining us today and taking an hour off of his work placement to attend the webinar. So I'm a proud teacher over here. Thanks. Yeah, and the agenda for today is we're gonna touch on topics such as aquaculture growth, kind of a going over the driving forces of aquaculture growth, the major concerns that are expected to be tackled in the upcoming years, some sustainable solutions, production and value numbers, just some graphs and good information. Yeah, sustainable solutions for us to try to mitigate and reduce our environmental impacts within the ocean farming industry, as well as learn a little bit about the workforce skills that are needed to create job opportunities that will help develop the local economy. Yeah, and today we know that global community faces just major financial and economic crisis. And on top of that, we do have to deal with climate change consequences, the pressing food and nutrition needs for ever-growing population. As you can see in the graph, it's increasingly growing, and we know that we have been using finite natural resources. They're not going to be around forever. And as the population continues to increase, to grow, our global living standards, they change, they try to adjust, they rise, as well as the demand for seafood that we know is set to keep on growing. That's just no doubt about that. And we know that with most wild capture fisheries already being partially or fully exploited, there's just no way that we can keep up with the demand and trying to provide seafood through capture. So we need to have other alternatives. We need to kind of learn how to farm our oceans. Yeah, this is just like a way to show you that the world's population is expected to reach 9 billion people in 2050. And it's known by data published by Food and Agriculture Organization that we have a decrease in space, in arable land, and limitation of water. So we need to find ways to produce food that does not depend on terrestrial agriculture, so that we can guarantee that we'll have like food security, and we're going to be able to feed the world's population. And in addition to that, we know that having protein as a necessary part of human diet, we urgently need to invest on non-terrestrial animal farming. So yeah, that's why we are here today talking about ocean farming. And according to the World Economic Forum, those are just some numbers for you to kind of get your mind thinking about it. Terrestrial livestock farming is known to produce 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Only 2% of global food production currently comes from our oceans. And our oceans, as we've probably learned in school, cover 70% of our entire planet. And our world needs from 50 to 70% more food by 2050. So that's the question mark over there, because yeah, the numbers, they just don't add up, and we need to make them work, right? So that's why we are looking for alternatives and sustainable solutions in order to keep our oceans healthy, alive, for as long as we need them, be able to take advantage of its natural resources in a responsible and sustainable way. That's why I have listed some of the ocean farming options that we have that help not only provide food security, but also restore in kind of a maintain our environment, our surroundings and ecosystems. We have restorative aquaculture that includes seaweed cultivation that have been mentioned here before, shellfish farming, integrated multi-trophic aquaculture, land-based finfish farming, where the water can be like from 90 to 95% recirculated, so that we're not sending anything back into the environment. Yeah, those are some of the alternatives to focus on creating healthy options, not only for humans to have that high quality protein source, but also to our oceans. Yeah, and just like a little, some more numbers regarding production and value in Nova Scotia. I really like to use the site mapping tool that is constantly populated by the Fisheries and Aquaculture Department. And they include all the marine and land-based aquaculture sites in Nova Scotia that have either been approved or are going through the approval process or the scoping phase, where they have an option area, so that they're kind of looking more into the most ideal area for their sites. Yeah, and those are currently all the sites in Nova Scotia, and as you can see, we have gone up 10% of value from 2019 production to 2020. And in terms of kilograms, it has increased 24% in 2020. And there were 234 licensed aquaculture sites in Nova Scotia. And I'm sure this number has been updated, and it's very likely that has increased. And yeah, I know that those employers, they're actively looking for skilled people to help them grow their business and get things done. Yeah, and this is just another graph from the same report, which is the Fisheries and Aquaculture overview. We have finfish being reported as holding like 33% of total jobs in the sector, shellfish 36% of total aquaculture employment. And as you can see on the graph, the employment rate has been increasing up until 2020. Yeah, and those are just like some ways to kind of display the ever growing aquaculture industry. And now we need to think about what is needed from the industry partners and from the industry itself, so that we can meet the demands and kind of address the environmental issues that we know they're out there, and someone needs to address them. And I would say the answer is always education. So what are the skills needed? So working in aquaculture industry requires the one becoming aware of this just vast array of dynamic and interdisciplinary skills that are constantly needed on a day-to-day job. And these are just a few of the skills needed that I wanted to list here. You know, I find those like extremely important if you want to kind of start a career in the aquaculture industry, and that's what the Sea Farm Operations program tends to focus on, so that we can kind of help students and train students with the skills necessary for them to be successful and thrive in the industry. So that would include water quality, system design and operations, system maintenance, hydraulic repair, fish nutrition, fish husbandry, record keeping, biology for like finfish, bivalves, shellfish, algae, basic chemistry, basic math, and some soft skills that we sometimes tend to overlook, but they're just as important, especially when it comes to the aquaculture industry, learning how to work in teams and groups and pairs, and learning like how to get things done in group, and not only that, but also like making friends and trying to have fun. Because it's very unlikely that if you decide to start a career in aquaculture that you're going to go out there, find a job and work by yourself. So there's a really great chance that you're going to be working with other people. Yeah, and this is my favorite slide to kind of display what the Sea Farm Operations program will look like, so that you can all get a sense of how are the classes. It's a 19-week program with online and in-person classes. It's called a blended program. Most of the classes are delivered in an online format through Teams, but we also have the most fun part of the program being delivered in person on Shelburne campus, down on the South Shore. Yeah, and the program it serves those looking to build upon existing knowledge and abilities, as well as those who have just interest in starting a career in the sea farming industry. And the major topics that we cover in the program include finfish, shellfish and algae biology, life cycles, animal husbandry and welfare, aquaculture production cycles, what are the systems that are commonly used in the industry when it comes to finfish, shellfish, in algae production, mostly seaweed, feeding, nutrition, site maintenance, biosecurity protocols, best management practices, restorative aquaculture, sustainability, integrated multi-trophic aquaculture, and so on and so forth. I could spend the entire day talking about that. Yeah, and those are just some photos of like field trips. We just visited last month the Pronova Marine facility in Lower Woods Harbor, also in the South Shore, where they grow halibut and lumpfish, which is like a more sustainable way of getting rid of the salmon sea lice. So they grow lumpfish, which can also be known as cleaner fish, and they eat off the lice from the salmon if they are put on the same cage. Yeah, and as you can see in the photos, we have students have learned about fish dissection, egg counting, oyster measurements, water quality monitoring. They also have their safety training with Joe Grandy, which is another faculty member. He gets the students in the water to do their marine emergency duties training, some net mending, and as well as some photos of students throughout their work placements. I always ask them to send me just as many photos as they can, and they're allowed to, so that yeah, I can see what they're doing and can ask questions about what they're learning. Yeah, and what's next? This is my last slide, and yeah, I just wanted to talk again about that in order to provide sustainable forms of food production and feed our growing population, we need to have a skilled workforce that will be the foundation of our future in upcoming generations. So education should be our top priority, but we also need to invest on public and private initiatives to foster that industry and helps the aquaculture development. And initiatives like the Cape Breton Partnership, Ocean Farming Series, as well as the NSCC Sea Farm Operations Program, they're just huge steps towards educating people about sea farming related careers, opportunities, and what we're trying to do here is provide opportunities for people of all ages to help develop coastal and rural communities in Nova Scotia. Yeah, and I'd like to thank you. This is just a video of a lungfish. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's playing really efficiently, but that was just a video, yeah, that I recorded on Pronova Marine of their lungfish coming up at the surface saying hello. Yeah, and thank you again for attending and joining us today. And yeah, I'll hand over the mic. Thanks.
Giulia, thank you. Great job. Really appreciate that. It's a wonderful perspective on aquaculture on your side, especially out of the NSCC and the programming aspect of things. We're now moving into the question and answer section of our presentations here today. And I wanted to start, Giulia, with you, if you don't mind. I have a question for you relative to something you said at the outset regarding climate change. And my question is this: there's a lot of, I wouldn't call it hysteria, but there's a lot of forward-lookingness, I guess you might say, that are saying that climate change may have a huge impact on our wild stocks, and that aquaculture may be an answer to doing things. And so my question is this: I'm wondering, in your sea farm programs and in your discussion around the education of sea farming, how you integrate potential outcomes of climate change. And we know, for example, the Gulf of Maine is warming up very fast and having consequences there for shellfish disease and other things. And I'm wondering where you see and how you get that message across to your students about what's going to happen to climate change and the impact with aquaculture.
Yeah, thanks for that question. And that comes up a lot in the classes, like throughout the courses that I teach. We do have introduction to sea farming, aquaculture husbandry, and site and operations management. And as I said in my presentation, I kind of along with the program goal, I tend to focus more on some alternatives and not common aquaculture operations, such as the restorative aquaculture, which mostly includes seaweed, oysters, mussels, and scallops, which are considered filter feeders. So they're not only providing high quality seafood for food security, but they're also restoring the environment. So they're filtering the water and taking in all the organic material available in the water column, as well as when it comes to seaweed, they're not only recycling the organic particles but also the inorganic particles that might be available in the water, such as nitrogen and phosphorus. So with climate change, we know that the temperatures are rising, and that creates sometimes algae blooms because there's more nutrients available, more organic material, nitrate and phosphate in the water. So if we focus on restorative aquaculture, we can be recycling those nutrients, as well as maybe having some setting off the carbon dioxide that would also be an issue with climate change as the temperatures rise. And yeah, that's what I try to bring to my classes and to the students, and just to try to show them this other side of aquaculture, because I know some aquaculture programs, they tend to focus on salmon farming, because I know it's the most profitable industry under the big aquaculture umbrella. But we need to think collectively and think about like all the benefits that we can get from other types of aquaculture as well. Yeah, and I hope that answers your question.
It's an evolving situation, I guess you might say,
Yes.
just like climate changes, I guess.
Yeah, and we're like ever learning. And as Michelle said, it was her first experience with seaweed, and hopefully we're gonna see more of that in the upcoming years, and hopefully, yeah, we're all gonna learn together. Yeah, thank you.
That's great. I'm going to pass that a similar question over to Michelle on this. Michelle, we had spoken before about, you had mentioned Michael Moore in your discussion as well. Michael had talked about sugar algae and the English town work that they're doing, St. Anne's Gut there. And I'm wondering if that seaweed link, I know that's something that you want to do from a hatchery point of view, and you mentioned it in your talk as well. Is that, how do you see that develop in terms of the connection with what's already being done there?
I'm not sure exactly what your question is, Dan. I was expecting a climate change question. Is this really,
maybe we need to cover climate change in the development at the hatchery level too. I'm not sure, but I was thinking more about, I know Michael talked about it relative to entry and in his discussion on the other ocean farming series, but I know that you're interested on the hatchery side of things, but I'm wondering how we do that in an environment that's dynamic and changing, partly due to climate change and other things too. Do we cover that some way? Is there a way to deal with that? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I can't really speak so much on the maybe not on the seaweed side, but on the sea scallop side, it's been a concern for us for several years. And the site where we collect has been used for over 20 years, and they've always had great results. But the last few years, our results have not been as consistent in terms of collection. So we've had some good years and we've had some not so good years. And so we do have that. And, we kind of do feel that the climate change, the conditions are changing, and that's impacting on our, the spawning and the settlement and all of that, which is impacting on our collection. So, yeah, we're just the only thing we've tried to do is be more aware of it, try and monitor more. We've tried to put loggers and other equipment in the gear. But it's definitely not easy because, you plan a year in advance. And so if you have 1 year that has bad collection, then you lose that year. Yeah, and another interesting thing, and we try to talk to people in other areas, and there's not a lot happening in terms of collection in Atlantic Canada, but Saint-Pierre-Miquelon, for example, has a big scallop, had a big scallop aquaculture operation happening there, and they did a lot of collection, and they were seeing similar things to us. So that was,
Yeah, I like the way you put it. The idea that it's a changing system. We've got a dynamic system that's changing. Sometimes I think we put too much notion on this idea of it's climate, but we've got a dynamic system in any case, and we need to deal with it. So I guess anything that's moving forward has to take into account those changes that take place. So that's very much the way I think we need to look at it too. Ashley, I want to put a question to you around Perennia and things that are happening there. Perennia is a leader in the upcoming Ministers' Conference. I was just looking at it today because we had a follow-up on what we might be doing there. I know it's going to be a hybrid conference in the fall to replace the one that normally is in February, March, I guess. But I was wondering relative to quality and capacity and the things you spoke about in your talk, how we will see that come forward in the Ministers' Conference. Are there special presentations that you'll be doing, for example, to deal with this issue and bring it forward as well?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. We're really excited for October to have the Ministers' Conference back in person again, and it's such a great opportunity to bring industry together, and so we're hoping for a great turnout. And yes, there definitely will be a quality focus. There will be a whole booth about the Nova Scotia Seafood Quality Program, and we want to help companies really understand kind of where they are and where they need to go in order to get certified. But also our team of food scientists, they're going to put on a real hands-on workshop on seafood quality, and that will be kind of some sensory training and some different tools that we have. We have an electronic nose and all these different technologies, but we really want to be able to show show how product quality can be impacted over time and what that looks like. So yeah, we're putting together a really great hands-on workshop that we hope we get good attendance, and just a great chance to interact and look at the product up close and understand what all those attributes really are, and how handling and holding can impact those, and also, you know, even the freezing and the cooking process. So yeah, we're hoping to really focus on quality this year, and there should be some great speakers and a lot of attendees, and just nice to see everyone in person again. So we're really looking forward to that.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's a big bonus too. We're able to get back together there.
Yeah,
that'd be a nice thing. But that's great to know that you're moving forward with that work with Perennia and the quality issues there. I hope that would be a theme maybe of the conference. That would be a great idea.
Yeah.
Thanks again for this, Jeremy. I think you wanted to intervene here at this point.
Thanks a lot, Dan. Actually, I think we're doing pretty well. I think we're going to hand it on to Amanda Mumberket of NSCC to offer some closing remarks.
Thanks so much, Jeremy. Wow, great conversation. You know, this has been an exciting series for me, particularly. I have to say a special and very personal thank you to our moderator, Dan, today, and our panelists, Ashley, Giulia, and Michelle, who all really answered enthusiastically when I came knocking on your door about an educational webinar series that was really only about maybe 70% baked at that time. So I just have to say your willingness to share your deep knowledge and experience has really been invaluable, not just to this project, but I think to the ocean farming sector over the years. And so we thank you very much for participating. This is the fourth in our 5-part series of webinars exploring ocean farming. The series was launched in response to local community interest in Eastern Cape Breton, and really is all about sustainable economic development opportunities in the ocean farming sector. So our goal really is to support the development of a sustainable and responsible ocean farming industry along the east coast, particularly of Cape Breton Island, but really all through Nova Scotia. So in our follow-up from today's session, we'll include the slide decks from our presenters, as well as a video recording from today's session. This session, along with all the others in our series, will also be available on the Cape Breton Partnership's YouTube channel under news items. And I really just have to say NSCC has been very pleased to partner with the Cape Breton Partnership to help support and foster the ocean farming sector in our region. It's been a great networking and learning experience for, I think, our current students. You know, and Giulia mentioned how, you know, Carl is tuned in today. I know whole classes have tuned in the past. And I really do think it will help to inspire future industry workforce members and interest in programs like our sea farm operations and fisheries and aquaculture. So thanks again to everyone for tuning in. And I really do hope you will join us for the last of our 5-part series, which is coming up on Thursday, June 9th at 1 p.m. to hear about innovation and readiness in the sector. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, Amanda. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.